now that we've printed, it's time to clean up. So we need to assemble a few things to get started. First of all, we're going to clean our palette, and do that with a razor scraper. Scrape off the excess ink. And I'm using a phone book here to put the leftover ink. If you've printed with ink, you don't want to put it back in the can. You should throw it away. So I'm just going to, and this is pretty quick. So I've scraped it once. I'm going to roll out the ink again and scrape it one more time. And the reason I'm doing this is because it requires less solvent. And whenever you can use less solvent, I think it's a good thing. Physically scrape the ink off the palette. Just get the angle of the blade right, and most of it comes off. So there's very little ink left on the palette. It's mainly on the roller. Okay, so after you've done that, put the phone book aside, and you need some cotton rags, or you could use a good quality paper towel. And I'm going to take the ink here, the roller, and with the safer VOC solvent, shake it up. Remember to shake it. Just pour some of that over it. And rotate the roller. And this loosens up the ink. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to loosen it, not to remove it. And after it's loosened up most of the ink, I'm just going to kind of move it around the palette in order to loosen up more of it. And then with a used piece of newsprint, you can use the newsprint to strip off the ink from the roller. And it gets a fair amount of it. And because you've put solvent on the palette, it also removes a fair amount of solvent or ink from the palette. So I'm going to take that. Always throw things with a lot of ink or solvent in them into the red safety cans. Never into the normal trash can. And then with your cotton rag, you can apply a little bit more solvent. To finish cleaning your palette. And believe it or not, water works great at the end for the final cleaning. So I'm not getting it all off, I got most of it. And I'm going to take my rag and use that to pull the ink off the blade of the scraper. Don't try to retract the blade of the scraper, just try to clean it off the best you can, and with a knife the same way. A little bit of the water, I could also use, you know, a cleaner. And you can see how it works pretty well to finish cleaning the residue of the ink. Okay. So that was pretty quick and easy. I just have to finish my roller here. The roller needs more cleaning. With these black rubber rollers, if you're printing with black ink, it's easy to leave ink on the roller. And once it's completely dried on the roller, even a thin film, it's destructive to the roller. So you want to make sure that you clean it all off. And really the only way you're going to know if you get it completely clean is to use a white cloth or rag or paper towel. I don't have any white rags today, so I'm going to use some paper towels. It's more efficient if you fold it into a pad, and then you can put the solvent on your paper towel or your rag instead of the roller. And just go back and forth while you're rotating the roller, and be sure to hit the edges. If ink builds up on the edges, you'll get a ridge on the roller that will show up in the prints. Quite a bit of ink came off, but it's pretty close. I'll turn it over and do the same thing. And you want to repeat this until there's no ink left on the roller. Almost gone. Just a little stain left, so we're 99% there. Okay, so that's done. And when you're done cleaning, you need to put the roller back in the where it belongs, hanging up, separate from the roller stand. Put all your things away. You need to take your plate off the press, put it face down on a clean sheet of newsprint. You can clean the back of it with a little water and a sponge. And then clean the press bed. Again, we're going to use paper towels, or you could use a rag, and the safer solution. Okay. So, around it. Water to finish up. If there's any tape on the plate backer, you need to remove it. Your marks where you started and mark the travel of the press. Sometimes there's a little grease at this end, so be sure to look for that and clean it off. If you see some, it means that there was probably a little grease at the edge of the plate that got on here. Remove your tape. And then the next thing is to scrape the excess grease off your tympan. The other side of the tympan should be clean. If you didn't put newsprint down, or if the newsprint you put down wasn't large enough and you got some ink from printing on the other side of the tympan, you need to clean that as well. Or if somehow you got grease on it, clean both sides. And the reason we clean it, it may seem a little silly because you're just going to put grease on here again. But when we store these things, they're up against each other. And if you don't clean it, then the grease from this will transfer to the grease on another tympan, and then both sides of the tympan will have grease. And you can imagine that would be a little problematic, right? So with this, you can finish up with a little denatured alcohol. It'll cut the grease a little bit more quickly than the safer will. Or you could just use the alcohol for the whole thing, scrape off the excess ink. So we're almost done. We're going to put this away. It goes in the back of the press. Stand it up. Check the other side for grease. Clean it if you need to. And then the last thing we need to do here is remove the scraper bar, put it away. So if you put a little cloth under here when you release it, it helps you from getting grease all over your hands, and just wipe that excess off. This doesn't have to be spotless. Put it away. Check everything around you to make sure it's clean. If there's any ink that you got on the tables, water, clean it up. And that's it.